how is your programming changed from working in more of a private gym facility to now running athletes through a little bit more of a structured training session?
That's a good question. When you're in a semi-private facility like a Coastal, where you have a one-on-one or one-on-two, or even a small group, you can individualize things a lot more. So if I know that you struggle with deadlifting, feeling deadlifts on your right side or something like that, like I can tweak things. Or if you have a bad shoulder, I can, we're gonna work on this and work on that. So I can individualize and tailor things to you. Whereas here, when you have, the whole men's hockey team walk in and there's 33 of them, and it's like, okay, let's do a workout, I guess. So the way that kind of goes is I write a program for the team. So exercises that I know will help improve the overall sports performance. So, I'm not going to get into that, I guess, but just the basic stuff. And then from there, I can individualize it on the fly based on athletes' needs. So if, let's say, 30 of those athletes walk in, hey, we're doing front squats, boom, 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 set up. One athlete, hey, my ankle hurts. Hey, my hip hurts. Okay, you're doing this. Okay, you're doing this. So instead of having it individually tailored, it's almost like a blanket program that does work. It does improve athletic performance, but due to everyone's individual compensations or their injuries or whatever else they have going on, I can tailor things on the fly from there. But for example, like we have over 200 athletes at Trinity, and so I can't really write 200 individual programs, but I like to think I do through writing programs for each team. And then as they walk in the door, hey, how are you feeling today? Any injuries, this or that? Okay, instead of deadlifts, you're doing hip thrusts. So that way I can individualize on the fly. But it's definitely not the same as a semi-private facility where it's like, hey, today we're going to try this, or hey, we're going to, really hone in on this aspect. It's definitely more of a general strength training program.
For sure. And then, as you say, like you can see stuff on the fly where you're like, you don't like the way that looks, or they're telling you like this isn't working well. Then you can be like, okay, when I ask you to do this from now on, for now, you're going to do this instead. And so they sort of not start creating their own program, but they all of a sudden they know like, okay, when this shows up on the sheet, I need to be doing this instead because that's my appropriate progression.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's super intelligent. Because what we found, or what I found, and this is sort of an aside, but like with the kids, and I'm sure you do this as well, it's like we've got the blocks similar to how you set up the compete stuff. Mm-hmm. And so we've got the tri-set or the 4-set or whatever. And it's like, okay, you guys are starting over here, you guys are sort of starting over here. Luckily we have the space that we can just be like, everybody's doing the same block. It's just, once we get into the actual stuff, like, okay, we got sandbags over there, we got kettlebells here, and then we've got dumbbells over there. So we got the stations, which is like primo.
Yeah, I started to do that a little bit actually this year with like just listening to a lot of other coaches talk about like their first year athletes and like their Block Zero program and all that stuff, which is typically a program for first year athletes, which is less complex, I guess, than what you would give to a 22-year-old fifth-year athlete who's been here and grinding it out. And so this year I finally created a Block Zero program to give to freshman athletes, because especially with being a university, a lot of students go home over the summer, or for example, the incoming freshmen haven't even been here, they haven't even met me. So instead of giving them all these exercises that I think are great, but I kind of need to coach them, I basically just watered it down and was like, hey, if you can squat, if you can do a push-up, if you can do a pull-up by the time you come here, that's awesome, and we can work from there. And so that's kind of the same thing, like where I'm trying to layer things in instead of, okay, women's volleyball, you're all doing this. It's like, okay, women's volleyball freshmen, you're doing this. Second, third years, you're doing this. Fourth, fifth years, you're doing this. Given that their year here is also correlated to their training age, because depending on transfers and if athletes actually showed up to the gym throughout their 5 years. But it's trying to individualize things more is obviously key and will help each individual athlete. But at the end of the day, if they don't come and do the regular program, then, well, two things. Number one, it's almost like, well, why should I spend my time individualizing something for you when you haven't given the other stuff the time of day. But then it's more so, well, how do you know the other thing doesn't work for you? Like, you can't just be like, oh, I'm different.
Right.
So, well, you got to prove to me that this didn't work or that actually hurts you. You can't just say, I don't want to squat today. How about I switch it out for bench press?
Right.
And I've had that. I've had an athlete be like, I think maybe it wasn't squats, maybe it was deadlifts. Anyway, something where it was like, can I just like do bench press? And I was like, those don't work the same muscles at all. But good try. But yeah, so that's kind of the way that goes.
Oh, that's amazing. Hey, coach, I'm not feeling it today. I'm just gonna rep it out on the bench. No.
Yeah.
No.
Never. This ain't the NFL Combine.
Yeah, you're not gonna be tested on this later. Sorry,
Yeah.
Sorry, son.